Okay, so last night there was two English clubs in action in the Champions League, Arsenal and Dortmund. Arsenal played Dortmund, obviously, and Schalke played Chelsea. So let's touch on the Arsenal game first. It was a poor result for Arsenal, really, but a very good result for Dortmund.
Yeah, it was a pretty even game. Obviously, Arsenal at home saying they'll be disappointed to not at least get a draw. That's probably the least they deserved. But if you defend poorly against top class opposition, you're going to get punished. So I think in that sense, Arsenal still got a lot to learn. There's been a lot of high praise for them. Some of it deserved, some of it sort of undeserved. People get a bit carried away about how they've done, but it shows they're not quite there yet. They still need to improve. But for Dortmund, didn't play their best, but a good win for them.
Yeah, I mean, Dortmund started really brightly. They were pressing Arsenal back just as you'd expect them to, and it looked like they were really up for this game. After a little bit of time passed, maybe their legs started to go a bit. They looked a little bit lackluster last night. Arsenal had more space and time on the ball, and once you give them that, with the confidence they've got at the moment, they were passing it around Dortmund players for fun at times, but they weren't taking their chances. And to be fair, Dortmund did defend well. They didn't give them loads of open goals. Rosicky had a really good chance, which Hummel was blocked off the line. But
Cazorla hit the crossbar as well.
yeah, and Cazorla hit the bar. I mean, they had chances, and I mean, if his shot was another inch or two to the left, it would have gone in maybe, and it's a completely different result. But at the end of the day, Dortmund's game plan actually kind of worked, and they sat off them, defended, and they just needed that one chance because they knew they could. They knew they're lethal in front of goal, and when Grosskreutz, who had quite a poor game with his final balls, he struck a couple of shots just so high and wide at times, but he got this one right and he crossed it straight to Lewandowski and he finished so brilliantly. And that's all it takes in the Champions League, and Arsenal they've learned a really tough lesson last night, and a home loss to Dortmund in a group which is so tight now, it's a very damaging defeat.
Yeah, I think it's going to be very tough for Arsenal now. With all teams, the three teams on 6 points, 6 points each, I think it's going to be difficult because a loss at home is so important. It's so crucial. You can't lose your home games in such a tough group. Obviously, both Napoli and Dortmund have both lost in this group, but both of their defeats have been away from home. So for me, I think it's all pretty even, but if you had to look at two teams to qualify now, I think that you'd edge towards Napoli and Dortmund, even though there's still a long way to go. But it's going to be difficult for Arsenal now.
I think the problem with Arsenal was sort of their game management sort of went out the window at periods last night. They were sort of playing the ball out from the back around the edge of the penalty area, which had led to Dortmund's first goal. Ramsey gave the ball away. Should have passed it or cleared it. It was tackled, and then ended up in the net. And their defending for the winner was, I know it's a counter attack, and Dortmund broke away, but Sanya was on the halfway line when Lewandowski hit the ball in the back of the net. He should be sprinting as quick as he can to cover, and there's a big gap where he should have been, and Lewandowski put it away. So, Arsenal they did all right, but they need to sort of improve in those key stages of a game. And if you can't win your game, don't lose it. And they lost, so that's just they need to improve. But it's going to be so tight.
Yeah, that's another good point about Sanya. He was one of the main attacks for Arsenal. They were getting it to him on that right-hand side a lot, and he was playing really high up the field, as was Gibbs on the left-hand side. But a lot of the play went through Sanya, and he was putting in some poor crosses. Sometimes he was cutting inside when he didn't need to. But for Arsenal's goal, he got that cross in early, and Giroud, I mean, Weidenfeller had quite a poor game, but Giroud made him make that mistake, and he got his goal. And that was a key area to field, and Dortmund didn't really react to that. Schmelzer had quite a poor game at left back. He wasn't keeping with Sanya, and he didn't have enough cover on that side. So that game was there for the taking for Arsenal, and they just didn't do it. It was really if you're an Arsenal fan, that is a very disappointing result, because they could have, run out and won that game quite easily.
Yeah, if they won that game, they're in pole position to qualify. But now they've got to go to either Napoli or Dortmund and get a positive result, and that's going to be very difficult. I mean, they've got Marseille at home, which should be a home win for Arsenal, but they've got to go away at two tough places and get a win. That's going to be very difficult.
As Tommy said, it makes a tough group even tougher for Arsenal, so we'll see how they bounce back in the next game week. But moving on to Chelsea, they had a very good result last night, didn't they, Tommy?
Yeah, an excellent result. Away to the toughest opposition in their group. I think that Chelsea staff and manager deserve a lot of credit for the team selection. I think 2 games, obviously quite close to each other, with Cardiff at the weekend and Schalke in this one. I think Mourinho used the squad well between these 2 games. I think against Cardiff, he went with Mata in the number 10, more offensive, and in this game against Schalke, he played Oscar, who was better defensively. And also the decision to play Azpilicueta at left back, I think that worked instead of going for the maybe slightly youthful Bertrand. So he made some good selections, and obviously Schürrle coming back in, someone who knows Schalke very well from playing in the German league. That worked well. He's been excellent so far for Chelsea. So the team selection was good, the style of play was good, and Torres has looked to continue where he left off. He's been, obviously now a lot of people have come out and praised Torres so much, when a couple of weeks ago they were probably criticising him. His performance hasn't changed. It was exactly the same as it has been. Apart from, he was clinical in front of goal, as he was before Chelsea. He scored a lot of goals for them last season and started off well for this season. So he was excellent, and they deserve the result. And it kind of eradicates that poor home defeat at the start of the group campaign. So that's kind of put to bed now, and they're in pole position to qualify.
It was a great result for Chelsea. I thought they'd go and win, but to win 3-0 away and their toughest team in the group at the Gelsenkirchen, that was a very good result. Torres back on form, 2 goals, and Hazard took his goal well as well. So they bounced back from that shock home defeat to FC Basel. So I think they're in pole position to qualify now.
I was quite disappointed with Schalke because they've had 2 positive results, and Draxler in particular I think he scored in both games for them. He's been very good, and Schalke have been very good in the Bundesliga and in Champions League. But they have to remember they've got a very young squad, and they've got a very impressive team which I think can do big things, but they do need some more time. They were playing Max Meyer, who made a mistake for one of Chelsea's goals last night. He got a goal actually on the weekend for Schalke, and he's only, I think he's 17 or 18. He's got a big future ahead of him. But when you play youngsters like that, you've got to expect mistakes every now and then, because they're still learning the game. And on the highest level, when you make, I think it was a pass back and it just cut out. Little mistakes like that cost you big time against a team like Chelsea, who are just ruthless in attack. So overall disappointing for Schalke, but I think they'll still qualify from that group.
Yeah, I think Schalke are a team who like to test their younger players. I think Germany as a whole seems to do that as well. But I remember Julian Draxler making his debut in the Champions League 3 years ago now, when they made that run to the semi-finals, and he's still very young now. So he was very young then, and I think that experience has helped him into the player he's starting to become. But just a last point on Chelsea, I think that the defence now, obviously a lot of credit goes to Hazard and Torres, who got the goals for Chelsea, but defensively I think that Mourinho seems to have got it right now. I think that they look very solid last night, and I think he's kept that attacking flair while maintaining that, because in large spells of that game last night we had Chelsea defending how they have done in previous years, but it's good to see that Chelsea have both sides of the game. They can defend deep and well as being very creative in attack. So I think there are a lot of positive signs for Chelsea last night, and hopefully they can continue it in the rest of their season.
There was a couple of other standout results last night, which included Celtic beating Ajax at home, which is a great result for them. Napoli beating Marseille away, as you mentioned, Tommy, which is something that Arsenal... my bad. They didn't beat them away, they beat them at home. No, they beat them away, didn't they?
Yeah.
Yeah.
But they've got to host them at home, okay, right now. So there were a couple of standout results from last night. Celtic beat Ajax at home, which is fantastic for them. And in Arsenal's group, Napoli beat Marseille in Marseille, so that's fantastic for them, and that opens the group up, as we said before. So tonight we have even more Champions League football with 2 more English clubs in action, the 2 Manchester clubs. How do you think they're going to get on, Tommy?
Obviously, Man City involved in the early kick-off game away to CSK. It's always a tough place to go to. But with the squad that Pellegrini has, he can afford to rotate his players. But they come into the game on the back of a positive result. So if the mentality's right and they keep focused, then there's no reason why they can't go there and get all 3 points. Regarding United against Sociedad yet to get a point in the group so far. With United quite frail as they are, I think there's a top performance and a victory is needed for United tonight. And I think that Sociedad are a team who I think could surprise a few tonight. I think that it's going to be a lot tougher than what people maybe might think it will be, because Sociedad have some very bright attacking players, and I think that with United looking to dominate the game, that could play into the hands of Sociedad.
It'd be a test for United, but one they should really win. I mean, Sociedad had a very poor season so far. They're like only 15th in the league at the moment, a point off the relegation zone. So things are not going well. But they've got some talented players like Carlos Vela who can really hurt United's defence, which has been very fragile, to say the least, this season. So if they can keep it tight at the back and create a lot of chances, then they should win. But we said they against Southampton, West Brom, didn't we? That didn't exactly go well.
Yeah, exactly. I think in particular for United, they'll obviously be looking at Vela, like you said, and Griezmann, who's obviously been excellent for them. But I think the Champions League has taken its toll on them. As you said, they're not doing great in La Liga either. This is a game United should win, but this is a game we've seen them slip up in the past. This type of game. Same goes for Man City, especially in the Champions League, where they've never really kicked on and never really replicated their league form into the Champions League. So a tough trip away to Moscow is definitely not an easy one, but it is one, as you say, Tommy, that their squad is capable of winning. So both Manchester teams will be looking for wins tonight, and I think they should both get them.
I think with the United game, the one weakness to United defence, what we've seen over the years, is that they are very vulnerable to quick forwards. I think that they also have 2 fullbacks in Rafael and Evra who play very high up the pitch and can be caught out in them areas. So I think that Sociedad have the players to really exploit that with Griezmann and Vela. And I think if they do that right, I think there's going to be, I'm not saying Sociedad are going to get a point or even 3 points, but I think that they will have the opportunities to get something out of this game. I think that'd be fair to say. But United are going to need, I know there's a lot of patience with Moyes, but for the crowd's sake, he's going to need a positive result tonight.
Okay, that's all we've got time for. Bill, Simon, Tommy, thanks for your input.
Thank you.
Thank you.
And thanks for watching.